Hello and welcome to another episode of the Distributed Agile Association, where we talk about how we can make Agile accessible for all sorts of teams, not just co-located teams, but distributed teams as well. My name is Pratika, and today's episode is about planning poker and how you can do planning poker, the exercise planning poker for a team that is not co-located. So a planning poker is basically a way that Agile teams and Scrum teams use to size stories. So for a sprint or for an upcoming phase of your project, you would sort of come up with all the stories and come up with sizes for the stories. Not only is this a great activity to sort of estimate approximately how much work you can get done in a certain amount of time, but it's a great way for the team to come together and discuss all of all of those stories and all of the tasks that you will be doing in the next few weeks. Talk about them, what approach is going to be, what the business value is going to provide, all of that good stuff. Now, the way the planning poker game is structured is mainly meant for teams that are co-located sitting together in one room. However, this is not always possible, and so for teams that are distributed, a good way of doing this is using online tools like these. This one is Planet Poker, but there are others like Osteka, and I'll link a few others down below as well. There are some great apps as well that you can use for doing this. But essentially, I'll walk you through Planet Poker, and you can figure out what works for your team. So how this would work is that if I'm planning poker for my team, what I would do is I would create a room. I would give the room a name. I would select what kind of poker I want to play. So in this case, I want to do Fibonacci, but you can do t-shirt sizing, you can do Scrum, whatever works for your team. I can customize the card values as well. So I can customize what sizes are allowed for the team. I can enter the titles of each story. Actually, this is quite time consuming, so I don't tend to do this, but you can do that if you want. You can request confirmation for skipping stories. This is important because you don't want anyone to not estimate a story, so you should have that clicked. And then there's some other good stuff as well that you can check out. This is what sort of works for me. They have a countdown timer. They have an option for players to change their votes. So all of those things that you will figure out would work for your team or not based on trial and error. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and create this room. And once I do that, I can actually take this link and invite my teammates. So I can either enter their emails out here and send them an invite, or I can actually just if we're all together on Google Hangouts or Sakoko or whatever other tool that you're using to get everyone together on the same virtual room, just send them this link and they'll all be able to see it. And then what I would do is I would start with, all right, guys, let's do the first story. The story is XYZ. This is the goal of the story. It's dependent on this other story for whatever reason. That should ideally not happen, but for whatever reason, it's dependent on some other story. Or, this is the bad business value we're going to get out of this. And then teams would quickly ask you, your teammates would quickly ask you questions that could affect the estimate. Don't encourage people to ask too many questions unless it's gonna drastically affect the estimate of that story. So once that is done, I will say, okay, guys, please go ahead and start estimating these stories or sizing these stories, and so everybody will sort of click on the number that they think is what the story is, and then once everybody says, okay, I'm done, I say finish voting. Currently I'm just one player, but you can imagine it sort of gives me, okay, 25% of the people said 2, 50% people think it's a 3 points story, and so on. And so it gives you and then you sort of talk about, why is there such a huge difference between estimates, or good, everybody's on the same page, let's move on to the next story. And so what it does is it then gives you, and so while this is happening, I would be on Jira or Trello or whatever I'm using for project management, adding these story sizes to those stories. And so it sort of gives you a list of the stories that you have completed, and towards the end of the exercise, you would have sizes for all of the stories. Again, it's like really super fast, really quick. And it just makes things so much easier. The other way to do planning poker for a distributed team is for everybody to have their cameras on and ask them to sort of hold up on camera like what they think the size of the story is without showing it to anyone else. And it's fun. A lot of times we have a lot of fun with that. It's just that like a lot of times somebody's camera is not working, or their internet isn't great, or they're traveling, so they're on 3G or 4G or whatever you. And so this is just a much cleaner way of sort of running your planning poker for a distributed agile team. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, link it down below. And I will put in my email address in there and any other resources that you might need to understand planning poker. I will see you in my next video. Thank you. Bye.